Well, I would like to talk about the evolution of my amulet making, and this is something that I made in 1971. And First, what I did is I found in the mountains of Northern California an antler in the trail, and so I took this antler and I carved a cat because at that time one of my totem animals was Catman. Yes, I'm Catman. And So I did that. And then another place I lived at in the mountains in California, one of us got a deer. And so I took the hoof of the deer and then using just the natural juices of the hoof, I was able to adhere or glue it onto the antler. And symbolically, well, what does that have to do with astrology? Symbolically, I'm a Pisces, so that is the foot, and my moon is Aries, and that's the head. And so I always thought of it that way, that this is, an astrological amulet that personifies, let's say, a vision that I had of myself when I was 21. I'm now 22. Anyway, so that's one thing. This is like really my first amulet piece that I did. And what I used to use this for, I don't do I Ching anymore, but when I did an I Ching, I would throw the coins, and when I pulled the book out, so this is part of a leather pouch. This would be in my leather pouch, so almost like what you call a medicine bag or something. So I would lay that next to the I Ching, and then I would throw the coins like that. And so this is part of my praying process when I was consulting the oracle. And now here's another one. This is Venus in Capricorn. And what I'm doing here, now this just evolved. It wasn't like I was thinking of, well, I'm going to do Venus in Capricorn because. It was just that I decided. I mean, I had these turkey bones, and as you know, Capricorn rules the bones. And then Capricorn also rules the bark of tree, and then this is cork. So I made then the shape of Venus using Capricorn materials. And then I took 24 copper pennies, which I hammered, copper being the metal of Venus. And then in black ink, black the color of Capricorn, I took the 24 for the 24 hours, and I put that around here. Then I also used the colors of Venus, which are turquoise, and then certain shades of pink, and then brown colors for the earth of Capricorn. So then this is a magical piece, I consider. Magical because when you're taking the properties of something, whether it is Venus in Capricorn, the bone, anything like that, it's going to conduct or channel the energies of that combination. The same with Pisces and Aries here for this one. Then, let me see, here's something else. I made this actually for a presentation I did at Omega last year, of which Maurice was the one who organized it. And this is my Jupiter rattle. This has symbols of Jupiter and Uranus on it. And Jupiter and Uranus together represent thunder and lightning. And so this is also an instrument. So this is a thunder stick, you can almost call it that. Okay, now here's something that is extremely dangerous, and I've never put this on video before. And why is this dangerous? This is a love wand. If you point this at somebody, they will fall in love with you. Now, I've never done this on video before, so I'm taking a big chance, because if I do this, And then I read in the newspapers that, you know, like thousands of people fell in love with each other and are changing the world because of this. Well, maybe that's a good thing, but still, you know, I do have the responsibility of, you know, creating love. And these are turkey feathers. I like turkey bones. Here's a heart here. You know, all the things that you need for love. Alrighty. Um, Now I want to talk about the thing that probably is my longest ongoing magical work. And that's something that, like, when I began it, it's just, you know, I always begin with notions. I don't necessarily begin with, okay, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to do Venus in Capricorn, or I'm going to do Catman with, you know, Pisces, Aries connotations to it. Instead, I worked with this form first. This is the, some of you may recognize it, this is the older form of, during the medieval period of charts that were done. And so for a while I was doing my charts on this kind of form. The angular houses are here, the subsident houses here, and then the cadent houses are here. After a while, I said, I wonder what this would look like as a three-dimensional piece. Like, what if I carved it in stone? So I started to think of, instead of this being a flat surface, I started to think of this as something that was rising above the surface. So I got a piece of stone. My favorite stone is African Wonder Stone. It's a gray, slate gray stone. It comes from Central Africa, and it is very dense, and it is a soft stone, but very dense for a soft stone. It's much more capable of details than soapstone, but very similar in softness. So anyway, what I did was I carved it. Let me see if I can climb through here. So I carved it in this. So what this is then, this is a 3D of that image of the chart. And once I carved it, just like I said, well, I start out with an idea and then something happens. So once I carved this, I said, hey, I've made a temple out of that chart form. And also I had a name for it, which is Pi Haram, because if you look at it like from this angle here, this angle is the same angle, about 51 degrees, as the Great Pyramid is, like that. So Pi Haram it combines Arabic and Greek, meaning the house of pi, because the Great Pyramid has the pi in it, in its equations. So I went from that. I had this nice cube when I started out with that. That gave me 4 bars of the same stone. And I said, okay, what am I going to do with that? 4. And I thought, I'm going to do the 36 decades of the zodiac with that. And so I started to carve them. So 9 times 4, I had these 4 bars. And I'll put this here. And so I carved these. Like, for instance, this is one of my tarot cards. This is where my tarot cards come from. So, for instance, this is Lovers in State. This one is Strength of Woman. And so on. I did all 36 decans. I began in 1976, and I ended in middle of 1980, 4-year period. And then from that point, then I started to work further with it. I started to say, okay, what happens if I add certain things to it? I wrote poems about it. And then finally, one day I had an accident. I was carving this ebony piece right here. This is a musician. And it fell over and cracked all of these. Just about, maybe one of them was not cracked. And so, you know, I almost lost it. but I couldn't lose it. I said, so I very carefully separated the pieces from the dust, and I glued them back together again. I said, okay, I worked on these. These are the 36 decans of the zodiac, and I'd already named this as the equinox celebration because I was really into celebrating the equinox, which is today, by the way. And so it's a very fitting to talk about it. And so then what I did is I decided, okay, I'm going to cast these all in copper, excuse me, in bronze, and that way I'm preserving the images. So I'm going to show you now how then those evolved. And so this is where, little thunder on the floor there. So this is where these evolved to. Those figures evolved for the tarot to, and here instead of doing them, see, before they were in an order that they're carving in, they were organically connected to each other through their position in the stones that I was working from. But here, instead, I put them together thematically. What did they represent to each other? And then here's the pyrram. Instead of being solid, it is now this kind of structure. I still think about, wouldn't it be nice to make this, that it grew out of a chart form, a very old chart form. And then I developed, I said, well, this is going to be either some kind of temple, or I was talking about it with the artist Willie Birch, and I said, hey, this could be a cultural center. He said it already is a cultural center, But anyway, so this is the evolution of that piece. It shows how the evolution of let's say amulets, of the energies of certain elemental things. When you're putting together certain forms that and they evolve and they carry your hand, your mind with them until you have developed this concept that you started from point A, let's call it, and then you just wound up with all kinds of B and C and 27 XR2, whatever. That's how it happened. And so that's the evolution of my tarot, the Equinox Celebration Tarot. Now, one thing that I want to talk about too is the importance of the word, the painted word. And by that I mean, in ancient times, the word was very powerful. Like, for instance, the ancient Egyptians, they called their writing Medu Neter, which means the words of gods. That writing was sacred. It wasn't just the writing, the act of writing, but even the messages of writing and what they encompassed. So what I'm going to do now is something that I do every year for the spring equinox, which is I write a prayer, and then I later burn it. I have a little equinox fire, and I burn it. And so I'm going to write some characters that I think are appropriate for this time. Ancient Egyptian. The first one I'm going to write is love. And then I'm going to write peace or blessings. That's Hotep. And then I'm going to wish for something very positive in the heart. This is a different type of writing. This is Egyptian cursive form of writing, and that's how you would write the heart. In hieroglyphs, this is called hieratic. In hieroglyphs, you would write it like this, heart. And the reason why is because when they mummified a person's heart, they put it in this jar. So this is going to be one of my symbols for the equinox. Then I'm going to write in Chinese and Japanese character the word for star. And it's interesting. Now, see, when I think it's better to write with symbols than it is to write words because, see, words are so, in a way, they're limiting. Like if I just write love, Love, okay, that's a beautiful concept. But what if I write love like this? Or what if I write, because the word for peace in ancient Egyptian is the word for offering, like, or to satisfy the gods. This is an offering table, and this is what is offered to them. Or this one here, heart. But there's so many things that can go in one message, in one word. And so it's better to communicate with symbols than it is with just a word. Okay, so let's talk about the Uchat, which is the eye, ancient Egyptian eye. Now this is the left or right eye of Re, the sun god. Now, what's interesting about this symbol is that each one of these sections of the eye are also the fractions. So, for instance, the circle is 1/2, and then one part of this eye, like this one, is like 1/4. The other one is 1/8. This is 1/16. But what's interesting is when you add them all up, they add up to 63/64. So they've always speculated, well, why is that? Why would they not include, why would they not come up with just the whole number? And I think it's because of the mystery of the missing one. What happened? What spiritual idea is encapsulated with that? So mysteries are in the writing, I guess, just like maybe the proof can be in the reading of a chart, that is. And finally, I'm going to do, because I love to do my faces. So this is my equinox face. Right, so I think I'm going to do one more. This becomes a thing that you can't stop, really. And I'm going to do an 8. Actually, I combined the ankh with Venus in that one. Well, happy equinox, everybody. And the main thing that I want to talk about to end about amulet making and or making magical instruments is that the materials that you use are going to serve to give them the uh, let's say the power that they have, but also I think the intent of the amulet maker, of the artist, is very important. What are you thinking about? What are you embracing? What is it you're trying to convey so that you know the cosmos hears, and you're bringing it out through your hand or through your mind or through the materials that you're combining to make. And so I think that in doing that, I think there's certain rules to follow. Like for instance, certain things like if the moon is growing in light, then it's going to represent growth. If it's losing light, then it's going to be dispersing energies. And then the certain signs are important for planting, or so if you want to make something. But I think that ultimately the thing that is important is, what is it that you are thinking? Because everything that we do is a signature of who we are. And that's why when I was doing the original 36 celebrants for the Equinox Celebration Tarot, I was really just very honestly and openly carving them. I was the only thing I thought about was, well, this is the first decan, this is the second decan of Capricorn or whatever, but I did not follow the traditional idea of what those things should look like. Instead, I was allowing the cosmos to run through my hands into the stone. And then when it was finished, then I learned from what that signature was about, which was a unique manifestation of the sign and not just, something that is traditional, like the sea goat for Capricorn or the ram's head. Instead for the second decan of Taurus, I had strength of woman because of the intensity of her holding this weight above her head. This is a Taurus determination, and Taurus is a feminine sign. You know, or power of man, which didn't show like, which is the last decan of Aries, did not show a ram. Instead, it showed a muscular man, but a man though who was thinking about how he was using his strength and not just going plowing ahead with it. Happy equinox, everybody.